was holding on to the key. Like, oh, I know.
You can look at it, but you can't drive.
So hold on now. Let's talk about this. Because let's be honest. You know, I got to tell him, listen, this is what you do when a police stops you. This is what, like, don't go play no music loud.
It's the protection. You got to protect them. You got to tell them.
But no, but yeah, as parents, it's like these things that we can never be prepared for.
This wasn't a pop-in visit. It wasn't small talk, and it definitely wasn't just about food and friendly hugs. When Spice pulled up on Rasheeda and Kirk Frost during Love and Hip Hop, Atlanta Season 13. Episode 1, you could feel it immediately. The energy was different. There were rumors, there was pressure, there were headlines, and there was a real-life situation that had spiraled beyond gossip. Spice didn't come to stir the pot. She came to clear the air. Because when social media starts building narratives for you and strangers begin deciding what your relationship looks like, that's when real friends step in and ask the uncomfortable questions face to face. And that's exactly what happened. You could see it in Rasheeda's eyes, exhaustion. In Kirk's tone, tension. In Spice's posture, protective but probing. This wasn't about, are y'all good? It was about, are y'all really good? Because when businesses shut down, when threats start showing up, when social media becomes a hate train, that's not just drama, that's survival. Spice asked the question everyone was whispering, but nobody dared to say directly, where do you go from here? And suddenly the conversation shifted from rumors to reality. At first glance, it looked like a simple check-in. But if you watched closely, you saw something heavier sitting in that room. When Spice sat down with Rasheeda and Kirk Frost, the conversation quickly shifted from casual to critical. Yes, there were rumors. Yes, there was relationship chatter. Yes, social media had been loud. But the real issue wasn't gossip. It was safety. The Frosts weren't just dealing with online shade. They were dealing with real-life consequences. Threats, graffiti on gates, a hate train that crossed over from comments into their physical world. Businesses shutting down, employees affected. That's not reality TV drama. That's pressure. And when Rasheeda said she had to detox from social media because the narratives were so wild, you could hear the frustration. Not the defensive kind, the exhausted kind. Because imagine grieving. Imagine protecting your kids. Imagine trying to keep your household stable. And at the same time, the internet is creating storylines that don't even match reality. Spice clocked that immediately. She didn't accuse. She didn't assume. She asked, "Oh, I know it must have pained you to see the false narratives." That line mattered, because instead of repeating the rumors, she acknowledged the emotional toll. And that's what real friendship looks like on this show. Not confrontation for cameras. Not picking sides for airtime. Clarification. Kirk, for his part, stayed measured. Not defensive. Not explosive. Just careful. That kind of tone tells you he understands the stakes. When your business, your home, and your family are being targeted, the ego takes a back seat. The bigger message here? Public scrutiny doesn't just test relationships, it tests resilience. And in this moment, Rasheeda wasn't trying to prove anything to viewers. She was trying to protect her peace. Let's talk about what really hit hard in that scene. When Rasheeda and Kirk Frost revealed they had to shut things down, you could feel the weight. Frost Bistro wasn't just a restaurant. It was a symbol, a Black-owned business, a family legacy, a storyline that survived cheating scandals, public embarrassment, rebuilding phases, and years of scrutiny on Love and Hip Hop. Atlanta. So when Kirk said it was a safety concern, that changed the tone immediately. This wasn't business is slow, this wasn't we're rebranding. This was, we were getting threats, stuff was written on gates, employees were at risk. That's terrifying. And here's what most viewers might miss. When your brand is tied to your personal life on reality TV, the lines blur. People don't just criticize characters, they target real families. Spice saw that. That's why her questions weren't messy. They were grounded. Where do you go from here? Because once your business closes under pressure, the next step matters. Do you rebuild? Do you retreat? Do you rebrand? Do you move in silence? Rasheeda's answer was telling. I'm just taking a break. That wasn't weakness. That was boundary setting. For years, Rasheeda has been the strong one. The composed one. The woman who kept the marriage intact when the public said she shouldn't. The entrepreneur who stayed business-focused even when her personal life was trending. This time, she chose pause. And pause in reality TV world is rare. Because most people rush to prove something. Rasheeda didn't. She leaned into faith, into family, into spiritual grounding. And that says more than any dramatic confrontation ever could. Now let's address the part everyone was thinking but nobody wanted to say directly. The relationship rumors. Because whenever Rasheeda and Kirk Frost face outside pressure, the internet immediately circles back to one thing. Are they really solid? Years ago, their marriage survived one of the most public cheating scandals in reality TV history. DNA tests, secret children, public humiliation, tears on camera, therapy, forgiveness. They rebuilt. But here's the thing about rebuilding in public. People never fully let you forget the cracks. So when new stress hits, like business shutdowns, threats, emotional exhaustion, the rumors don't have to be loud. They just linger. And Spice understood that. That's why when Spice sat down, she didn't dance around it. She acknowledged the false narratives. She validated the pain of seeing your real life twisted into online fiction. But what she was really checking was this. Is the pressure cracking the foundation again? Rasheeda's body language told the story before her words did. Calm, direct. No visible resentment toward Kirk. No side-eye. No emotional distance. And Kirk? Present. Listening. Not defensive. That matters. Because when couples are barely holding it together, you can feel it. The air shifts. The tension is sharp. This wasn't that. This felt like two people who are tired, not of each other, but of the noise. Spice's presence almost acted like a mirror. She wasn't there to stir drama. She was there to see if the unity was real. And based on that conversation, they looked aligned. Not perfect, not carefree, but aligned. And alignment under pressure is stronger than romance under peace. Let's be honest. On Love and Hip Hop, Atlanta, when someone says they're just stopping by, it usually means tension is about to explode. But this wasn't that. When Spice walked into that house, she brought something rare to reality TV: stability. She didn't come with receipts. She didn't come with accusations. She didn't come to choose sides. She came to check in. And that's powerful, because loyalty isn't loud. It's consistent. Spice mentioned she'd been worried. She'd been thinking about them. She'd been talking to others about how quickly life can change. That wasn't gossip energy. That was concern. In this group, alliances shift fast. People pick storylines over friendships. But Spice has always operated differently when it comes to certain bonds, especially with Rasheeda. She respects strength, and Rasheeda has always been steady. So instead of feeding into the rumor mill about Kirk Frost, Spice did something mature. She asked them directly. That eliminates confusion. It removes assumptions. It blocks manipulation. And in that moment, she set the tone. I'm not here for what social media says. I'm here for what you say. That's friendship. And you could see Rasheeda soften because of it. When someone checks on you without agenda, when they bring food, hug you, and still ask real questions, that's not surface level. That's ride or die energy. And let's not ignore this. Spice didn't try to insert herself into their marriage. She stayed in her lane. She offered support. She offered perspective. She offered patience. Take your time. That line mattered, because in reality TV, saw people rush you back into drama. Spice gave Rasheeda permission to breathe. Here's what this scene really confirmed. the biggest threat to Rasheeda and Kirk Frost right now isn't infidelity, it isn't betrayal, it isn't internal collapse, it's external pressure. When businesses close, when threats show up, when social media turns your pain into content, when strangers rewrite your story in real time. That's warfare. And what stood out most in this episode of Love and Hip Hop, Atlanta Season 13? Episode 1 wasn't chaos, it was unity under stress. Rasheeda wasn't defending Kirk aggressively, Kirk wasn't interrupting her, they weren't contradicting each other. They were aligned in their narrative. That's important, because if there was internal fracture, Spice would have felt it. And Spice isn't naive. She's been through her own storms on this show. She knows when energy is fake. She knows when couples are pretending. This didn't feel like performance. It felt like two people protecting what they built. And here's the deeper layer. Rasheeda choosing to step back instead of react publicly is growth. Years ago, everything was loud. Arguments were televised, pain was replayed, forgiveness was dissected. Now, she's prioritizing faith, family, mental clarity, safety. That's evolution. And Kirk, staying steady beside her instead of becoming defensive, shows awareness. Because at this stage of their marriage, they're not trying to prove love, they're trying to preserve peace. The rumors may linger, the hate may resurface, the questions may continue. But from what we saw, the Frosts aren't collapsing, they're recalibrating. So now I want to know, do you think Rasheeda and Kirk are stronger because of everything they survived? Or do you think pressure like this eventually cracks even the strongest couples? Was Spice's visit pure loyalty? Or do you think more is still brewing beneath the surface? Drop your thoughts below, like if you respect how Rasheeda handled this. Subscribe if you want more deep episode breakdowns. And stay tuned, because if Season 13 started this calm, it might not stay that way for long.